Good evening. I'd like to welcome all the candidates tonight to our political forum. I have a few people I'd like to thank and recognize before we go through all the rules and all the good stuff as to how this is going to work. First, on behalf of the Copperas Cove Chamber of Commerce, again, welcome. Thank y'all for taking time out of your evening. I'm the Chamber President here at Copperas Cove, and I'd like to introduce our Board of Directors President, Jennifer Cotter, and our Office Manager, Liz Sherman. And then most importantly, Ross Oliver, he's the one that organized everything tonight, so I know everybody has been speaking with him over the last few weeks, and I'd like to say thank you, Ross, for all your hard work on this. You did a great job, and we're lucky to have you. So to go over a few of the rules, we are going to call the candidates up. We have the seats socially distanced, so you're going to sit in front of the seat that has a microphone. We'll start with those that are here representing the U.S. Congress, and we ask that no candidate interrupt one another when they're giving their opening or answering a question. There will be no debate between candidates. This is just a friendly forum for you guys to introduce yourself, give your platform, and again, answer some of the questions that we received from the general public. Each candidate will be given 2 minutes to deliver an introductory stump speech, of course, to tell us about your platform. And then once you're asked a question, you'll have 1 minute to answer that question, and we'll give you a 15-second warning before your time expires. And then you'll have 2 minutes to close at the end to go back and maybe answer anything that you didn't hit that first time around. Keep in mind to social distance. If you would like to remove your mask when you're seated, please feel free to do so. When you're up here, if you'd like to remove your mask to answer the questions, that's fine as well. If you do keep your mask on, please be sure to project yourself. We are live streaming this tonight for our public viewers. So speak into the mic and speak very clearly so that they can hear you. Let's see, where else do we have? So we'll start by bringing up those here from the U.S. Congress. If you guys will come up. And then Jennifer Cotter, our board president, she'll be here tonight to ask all the questions. And I forgot to also thank and welcome all those that are watching us through our live stream on Facebook. And we did have some technical difficulties with our YouTube channel. So once this is recorded, as soon as we get done with the forum, we'll go back to the office and we'll post it on our YouTube channel. And then we'll post it tomorrow morning on our website and our other pages. So again, I apologize. Right now we are only able to live stream from Facebook, and we really thank all those that are joining us tonight. So I'll turn it over to Ms. Cotter.
Hello. Could I have Julie Oliver please step up? Ms. Oliver is running for Congressional District 25. Okay, Ms. Oliver, you have 2 minutes to do an introduction.
Hi everybody, my name is Julie Oliver and I am running to represent and serve the 25th Congressional District right here in the great state of Texas.
Thank you. My name is Julie Oliver. I'm running to represent and serve the 25th Congressional District right here in the great state of Texas. I grew up really poor in the south part of Dallas. In fact, I grew up to a single mom who did the best that she could as a public school teacher, but we were really poor. When I was in middle school, we moved to a tiny town called Ovilla, and when I was a teenager, I went through a really rebellious phase, ended up dropping out of high school, running away from home, and after about 4 months got pregnant. And so I'm so grateful my mom took me back in. I'm so grateful she told me, you're welcome back home, but you have to go back to school. So back to school I went. I finished high school a week after giving birth to my oldest daughter at Parkland Hospital. She is now 30 years old, just graduating from TCU with her doctorate, so I'm an incredibly proud mom. And then I went on to college and law school with a young family. And it's a son I had in law school. He's the reason I'm running. I actually call him the walking pre-existing condition. And when Roger Williams voted 10 times to repeal protections for folks like my son who have pre-existing conditions, I looked at that man over there and said, honey, I have a crazy idea. I think I'm going to run for Congress. And I have 20 years of healthcare finance experience. So yes, our system is broken. It is very costly, and our plan brings down prescription drug prices. It actually can lower your property taxes here in Texas because everybody gets covered. And I want to take that 20 years of experience and take it to work for you in Congress. And my priorities are simple. Rebuilding the economy. You cannot retrust the rebuilding of the economy to the folks who drove it into the earth. Containing the pandemic. Providing health care to everybody. You have to have healthy people to have a healthy economy. And ending political corruption. I don't take any PAC money, none. My campaign is entirely financed just from real people, over 20,000 donors in 1 quarter alone. So I cannot be arm twisted behind closed doors, and I can stand up to leaders in both parties. You can't say that of the current congressman.
Time. Thank you, Ms. Oliver. Next, I'm going to ask you a few questions. You'll have 1 minute to answer each. Okay, so the first one is, do you agree with President Trump in regards to his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic?
I have to say, as a mother of a daughter who works on the front lines in healthcare, I'm really disappointed in the response to the pandemic. I'm disappointed that we didn't streamline the supply chain to protect our healthcare workers. And you know, as a mother of a son who has a compromised immune system, I'm scared every day when he goes out in public. And he doesn't. He's actually been really good about quarantining. This is a young man who has fought his entire life, 23 years. Missed a semester in college, 2 years of high school and a semester of college because he got sick. So I would have taken this a little more seriously than the current administration. And for the folks who have been laid off, ensuring that folks can continue making their mortgage payments, putting food on the table is a top priority. We know we keep our economy going by putting money in the hands of people. We have a congressman who took $1 to $2 million of federal bailout money for himself, then voted to keep it a secret. And then he said 0 was the number that people should get in federal unemployment assistance.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Oliver. Next question. During the last 6 to 9 months, we have seen many acts of senseless violence. Would you support a federal law allowing concealed carry?
When I look at what's been happening over the last 6 to 9 months, I look at there's some economic ramifications by living through a pandemic that put people in situations that we know that there's an increased crime when people don't have jobs. We know that there's increase in crime when people are hurting and don't know how to put food on the table. I think that there's some common sense things that we can do to support our police departments, and that includes providing them with teams that will help them. We ask our police departments to wear too many hats. We ask them to be marriage counselors. We ask them to be social workers and healthcare workers, and providing them the support and systems that they need so that they can do their jobs in the most effective way. I think that's one way to keep our community safe.
Thank you, Ms. Oliver. Next question. Do you support changing the name of Fort Hood?
I want to do with the military men and women. I'm here to represent and serve the men and women in uniform at Fort Hood, so I will follow their lead.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Ms. Oliver. Now, last question. What is the most important issue you, as a candidate, would like to address? How will you try and change it?
Well, in Texas, we finance healthcare in just the craziest of ways. We fund property taxes, or pay our property taxes that fund ER care for folks who don't have insurance. We've given away $100 billion of income taxes to other states like Kentucky that expanded Medicaid. And for those of us who are lucky enough to have healthcare coverage through an employer, that could be gone in a day, like a family I spoke to in Austin whose husband lost his job. They have a child who's going through chemotherapy, and when he lost his job, they lost their insurance coverage. So I think healthcare, living through a global pandemic, a public health crisis, is truly one of the things that we need to meet with a sense of urgency, and we need somebody who understands it and has the expertise in this area.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Oliver. That's all the questions.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me this evening. My name is Julie Oliver. My priorities are very, very simple. We really do have to work on rebuilding this economy and bringing jobs here to Copperas Cove. And truly, you cannot keep rewarding these multinational corporations that ship jobs overseas by giving them enormous tax breaks. What is that doing for Copperas Cove? Nothing. And I can tell you that Congress needs to support Copperas Cove. Y'all have a disproportionate number of veterans who live here, veterans with disabilities. They get a wonderful tax break, a property tax break through the state, and having a disability exemption from property taxes. But when somebody serves in uniform and they get disabled, the federal government should be supporting y'all so that y'all can continue paying for your schools, so that y'all can pay for your roads. Y'all can invest in infrastructure. And you don't have somebody who's in Congress who's willing to advocate for you. We do need to end political corruption. Congressmen and women have been bought and sold for far too long, and we need somebody in Congress who will not do that, who will stand up to leaders in both parties, because I'm not beholden to the money that they're gonna dangle in front of my face. And so you have somebody in Julie Oliver who wants to fight for this community. I'm gonna fight for this community just like I would be fighting for my son. So thank you all again for having me tonight. It's such a pleasure to be here. It will be the biggest privilege and honor to serve the folks in Copperas Cove.
All right, thank you, Ms. Oliver. Ms. Oliver was representing the Democratic Party. Next, I'll have, representing the Democratic Party, Clayton Tucker. For Texas Senate District 24. Okay, Mr. Tucker, you have 2 minutes to introduce yourself.
Well, let me first off thanking the chamber for the wonderful work you're all doing in this wonderful forum. Really do appreciate y'all. So I get asked 3 questions, pretty common when I'm on the campaign trail. Why are you running? Why are you a Democrat? And how old are you again? And I always like telling them, well, I'm 29 years old, or as I like to call it the age LBJ, FDR, and Lincoln were when they first got started. I am a Democrat because my grandfather told me when I was young, Clayton, Mr. C, you can do anything you set your mind to. I only ask you 2 things. Never become a politician, but if you do, make sure you're a Democrat. And I'm running because right now our government as a whole, they don't really care about most of us. They really don't. They are beholden, in my opinion, to the mega monopolies, or as I like to call them, the mega corporations, or as I like to call them, the wannabe monopolies, who really dictate so much in our government. And that's not okay with me. I'm a former kindergarten teacher. I had 15 boys, 5 girls in pure mayhem. A water researcher with the National Science Foundation, beekeeper, goat rancher, and I've been working with Commissioner Jim Hightower, the agriculture commissioner in the 80s, really focused on healthcare policy reform. And when I looked at my own family, they played by the rules. They did everything they're supposed to, running their family farm. They can barely afford healthcare. They really can't, actually. They can barely afford it. They can't even afford education. Yet they do everything right. Because right now, the system has been gamed against us. And that's not okay. This is not a bipartisan issue. Or this is not a bipartisan issue, in my opinion. This is not Democrat, it's not Republican. Because I will say both sides are guilty of it. That's just the truth. But we have to make sure we have a government of the people and by the people, and that's what I'm representing. My name's Clayton Tucker, I'm working hard for working Texans.
Thank you, sir. Now we'll ask you a series of questions. With the 87th legislative session beginning in January, what do you feel is the #1 issue facing Texans? What would you do to fight this issue, and how will it impact the citizens of Copperas Cove?
Easily, healthcare. Healthcare is the #1 issue. Before the pandemic, there was over 3 million uninsured adults and over 700,000 uninsured children in our state of Texas. On day 1, I will be fighting to expand Medicaid. That will expand coverage to roughly 2 million or so. Texas doesn't fully close the coverage gap, but you know what it also does? That brings $10 billion per year back to our state. And that will actually cause a deduction in property taxes. For Bell County, those are numbers I know exactly, it will cause a 6% reduction in property taxes if we expanded Medicaid, because counties no longer would have to fund all of the indigent healthcare service. So that is the #1 thing. Beyond that, we really want to make sure we lower prescription drugs. The state of Texas can create a board to negotiate drug prices down, and I think it's time that we create a Texas option that allows cities to buy into a public healthcare program. Cities, ISDs, county governments, even local individuals and businesses, let them buy into an option so then they can actually negotiate, because right now, people can't negotiate against health insurance corporations.
Okay, next question. Do you support Governor Abbott in regard to his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic?
No. We had a really big missed opportunity. with this. So from day one, look, from everything we can tell, that COVID-19 is following a similar trajectory as the 1918 Spanish flu epidemic, which means if it truly does follow that, we're in for a massive second wave this fall and winter. So we should have been prepping for our schools to be closed, or where we can really socially distance. So we should have been making sure students have the internet they need, they have the computers that they need. And if a working family had to send their kids somewhere to school, we should make sure the schools have good HVAC systems that can get rid of the viral particles, and that they can temporarily commandeer public buildings, buildings such like this, where we can have pods, where we can help working families. And also we need universal paid sick leave now more than ever. Because if God forbid, if a child gets sick, or a teacher gets sick, or any of us get sick, someone should not have to lose their job.
Thank you. Do you support the changing of the name of Fort Hood?
If the people of Fort Hood want to change it, I absolutely support it. I am a big believer in local control in nearly all things. So what I would like to see is for Fort Hood to have a vote. If the people of Fort Hood want to change the name, I 100% support them.
Thank you. What is the most important issue you, as a candidate, would like to address, and how will you try and change it?
Well, the number one issue would be healthcare, but I'm not going to go ahead and repeat myself. So let me talk about jobs. So I want everyone to have the opportunity to really fulfill their destiny, to fulfill their God-given potential, and to live with dignity. An very easy way to do that, look, we have immense talent in this area with the veteran population. And this is Texas, we have a lot of sun and we have a lot of wind. Let's turn this area to a manufacturing zone for solar panels and wind turbines, then use the railroads or I-14, that internal port, ship them out west, send them out to big country. There's a lot of wind farms out there. And if we continue growing that wind energy, our electrical prices go down. That's jobs, manufacturing, and logistical for this area. And I do want those jobs in this area, so that's what I'll be fighting for as well.
Thank you, sir. Now you have 2 minutes for closing.
When I was 9 or so, I was at my family's ranch with Papa, and we saw smoke coming from our neighbor's farm. So we grabbed some burlap sacks, a thing of water, and we took off down the road. And I remember asking Papa, why are we going to help instead of just waiting for the fire department? And he told me only 3 words: neighbors help neighbors. Isn't that what we're about? Isn't that what our values are as Texans, as Americans? Doesn't matter what political party you're part of. Should that not be what we are about? Neighbors helping neighbors, because when everyone does better, a wise man once said, when everyone does better, everyone does better. So I am fighting every single day for good health care, good jobs, and a good education for the little ones and the grown ones. So you can learn more about me at my website, tuckerfortexas.com. If you like what I had to say, you can check out there. If you want to have some other questions for me, ask me online, send me an email, give me a call. I will look forward to all other questions. And again, I really want to thank the Cove, and I want to thank all the candidates for everything you do. Democracy is important. So I just appreciate y'all, and thank y'all.
All right, thank you, Clayton Tucker, representing the Democratic Party and running for the Texas Senate District 24. Now I would like to bring up, representing the Republican Party, Brad Buckley, running for Texas House District 54. Hello, sir. You would have 2 minutes to introduce yourself.
Well, first of all, thank you very much, Copperas Cove Chamber of Commerce, for doing something so important, and that's allowing candidates and office holders to engage the electorate. It's my job as a state representative to make sure that I'm communicating my ideas, the things we've succeeded on, the challenges we still face. It's important to be able to engage the electorate, so I'm very, very proud to be here. The first thing I want to talk about is simply some accomplishments that we had, some ways that we moved the ball down the road. In public education last session, we were able to invest $5 billion in public education to give our teachers a much needed raise, to extend full day pre-K to all kids in Texas. We were able to give our retired teachers a 13th check and shore up the teacher retirement fund so that in the future, hopefully they'll be able to have cost of living increases for such an important profession, those that have contributed so much. We worked on our veterans issues to make sure that The communities that serve so many veterans receive additional funding to make sure they can respond to infrastructure, public safety, quality of life, and economic development. I was proud to serve on the Appropriations Committee and add $13 million to that program. In the healthcare realm, we worked on a bill and passed a bill that increased women's healthcare funding to make sure that low-income women could receive cancer screenings, preventive care, and mammograms. We also worked on a bill to stop surprise medical billing that devastates families, and that's certainly law in Texas now. We also worked on another bill that would make sure folks with pre-existing conditions, should the ACA be repealed by the Congress or legislative action, or by the Supreme Court, that they would be able to find and keep your health insurance if you have pre-existing conditions. And also we worked on property taxes, and our property tax system is one that is broken. We began with revenue caps that help slow the growth of property tax growth. There's much more work to be done, and I'm looking forward to returning to Austin in January to do that. Thank you.
Okay, now we'll start the series of questions.
Okay.
With the 87th legislative session beginning in January, what do you feel is the #1 issue facing Texans? What will you do to fight the issue, and how will it impact the citizens of Copperas Cove?
I think really there's two main issues, but they all involve the budget. The economic disruption that has been caused by the COVID-19 pandemic is going to have an impact on the state budget. I'm a member of the Appropriations Committee, and I'm privy to some information that tells us we have our work to do. But one thing I can assure you, the citizens of House District 54, which includes about 500 households that are in Copperas Cove and in Lampasas County, that we will definitely do what we can as appropriators and to make certain that we don't balance the state budget on the back of public education. That means we passed House Bill 3 that provided more funding and more opportunities for kids, and we will uphold that promise. When it comes to healthcare, the pandemic has exposed some stresses to our systems. We've got to make sure we work on that. I'll tell you right now, what I believe that there are free market solutions that we can fix our healthcare system with more transparency by expanding federally qualified health centers that are.
Thank you, sir. Do you support Governor Abbott in regarding to his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic?
I was there from the very beginning, and I can tell you this, when it started, the very first conference call I was on with the governor, we could test 270 people in the state of Texas. I'm proud of the work that he did to make sure that testing was expanded, our supply chain strike force that turned Texas companies into manufacturing centers for PPE. I do think as we move forward that many of the government or the governor's orders and executive orders have been too broad, and they have not truly reflected what our economy needs. We can balance, we can save lives and livelihoods, and so my opinion is that the governor has led us through a very difficult time, and I think an important part of next session will be to review that and make sure that the power is always with the people and with the legislators, and that's what I intend to do.
Thank you. Do you support changing the name of Fort Hood?
I believe the federal government has come out and said that they're going to take a look at it, and I talk to folks all around Central Texas. My district includes most of Bell County, or half of Bell County, all Lampasas County, and I think folks are pretty split on that. But I think most folks have their memories of Fort Hood or the men and women that have deployed from there that have gone to serve this country. But I believe that we'll, as we move forward, that we'll have federal debate on that, and then hopefully locally folks will decide the proper name for Fort Hood.
Thank you. Last question. What is the most important issue you, as a candidate, would like to address? And how will you try and change it?
I think the most important thing that I have to do this next session is to make sure that we don't go backwards on the gains we made last session. That we recognize and we learn from this opportunity that we have. I'm kind of a glass half full kind of person, and I would say that the COVID-19 has stressed this state, and we're going to learn from that and be able to improve many of our systems. But I want to go back to Austin and make sure that public education is protected, and that we have gaps to make up because of the way we've had to close our schools. I know kids have been impacted. That's important work to do, and that's what I want to do to make sure that all our kids have the opportunities to catch up and can live their dream of the future of Texas.
Okay, thank you. You now have 2 minutes for closing.
There is there is no more important thing for a representative or someone that is chosen to serve their citizens and their neighbors than to care about them. But you also have to connect. And so over the last 2 years as state representative for House District 54, I've done everything I can to connect to all communities. I live by the motto that if I'm asked, I show up. And it is important that that people know their legislators, that we may agree to disagree on some issues, but what I found is in the end, when good folks with good intentions sit down and talk, we agree on more things than we disagree. And so I feel like that's very important. And so as we move through this political season, my hope, my dream, my wish for the state of Texas is that we continue the good work that was done to make certain that our public schools and our veterans and citizens of the state of Texas are protected and given the opportunity to relive the Texas miracle. Because I tell you what, Texas is renowned across the world and certainly across the country as a place that gets things right. And I'd appreciate your support and your vote on November the 3rd to send me back, and let's continue and build on the Texas miracle. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Brian Buckley, representing the Republican Party and running for Texas House District 54. Next, I'd like to bring up, representing the Democratic Party, Shelby Slauson, running for the Texas House District 59.
Not Democrat, not Democrat.
Oh, sorry, Republican. I'm so sorry.
I think I'm gonna need some extra time now.
Sorry. Let me try that again. Announcing, representing the Republican Party, Shelby Slauson, going for the Texas House District 59.
Okay. Oh, thank you for the comic relief there.
Sorry.
So I'm gonna start with a quote from Thomas Jefferson, that timid men prefer the calm of despotism to the tempestuous sea of liberty. I am Shelby Slauson. I'm a born and raised Central Texas girl, and by definition, I think that means that I am not a timid woman. I am a small business owner. I believe in the Constitution, in free markets, and the sanctity of life. I'm a Second Amendment pistol-packing mama, and I'm a lover of limited government, low taxes, liberty, and I'm a defender, not a defunder, of our law enforcement, our military, and our veterans. I am honored to be here tonight. Thank you so much for having me. And I'm very blessed that I am the representative-elect for House District 59. No opponent on the ballot this November. And I'm very grateful to the people of Central Texas for that opportunity. I love being down here in Cove and in Coryell County because this is a Central Texas treasure that is full of men and women who have made tremendous sacrifices to provide the freedom for the rest of us to be here. In a country where radicals are increasingly calling to cancel everything, even our flag sees a tremendous amount of disrespect. Our people in Central Texas are the model of folks who believe in things bigger than ourselves, in a God that is bigger, that our country is bigger, that our state and our communities and each other are more important than any of us individually. In July, I had the privilege of being elected by a huge margin and in a historic turnout, and I'm hopeful for what that will mean in Central Texas in November. Rural Texas was a determining factor in a 2016 presidential race in Texas and in a U.S. Senate race in 2018. So I hope to see us be that deciding factor again in just 29 days. I hope that I will conclude in a moment then. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now I'm going to start with a series of questions. You have 1 minute for each one. With the 87th legislative session beginning in January, what do you feel the #1 issue is facing Texans? What would you do to fight this issue, and how will it impact the citizens of Copperas Cove?
I think there's some interrelated issues. We've got to open the economy back up. We've got to be able to balance our budget, and in order to do that, we have to have a fully functioning economy again. And we have to ensure that we have adequate resources for the men and women who keep our communities safe. Because if we are not safe, we are not free.
Thank you. Do you support government Governor Abbott in regard in his handling of the COVID-19 pandemic?
Oh, Governor Abbott has been in a lose-lose situation since the pandemic broke back in the spring. And I support the provision of resources, the different PPP needs that we had in order to ensure that our hospitals would not be overrun and without the equipment necessary to treat Texans who may need it. But I also believe fully that we are at the point where we should be fully open in Texas, and I would like to see that happen post-haste.
Thank you. Do you support changing the name of Fort Hood?
As a general rule, I respect history, and so I hate to see us emotionally respond in a way that might cause us not to remember where we've been. But at the same time, I do think that that particular issue is best decided. First of all, it will be decided at the federal level, but I think it's best decided with the input of the men and women who have served at that institution in these communities, and I defer and respect the wishes of those men and women.
Thank you. And last question, what is the most important issue you as a candidate would like to address? And how will you try and change it?
I think it comes back to that trifecta of issues again. Those are going to be the biggest three things that we see next year between opening the economy, balancing the budget, and ensuring that we are adequately funding law enforcement activities throughout the state. Shortly on the heels of that is going to be a redistricting process that will have a tremendous impact on our state for the next 10 years. So I look forward to serving with other legislators to address those really big and meaty issues that are in front of us.
Thank you. You have 2 minutes to close.
So I thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here tonight. My favorite part of campaigning has always been getting out and getting to meet with people one-on-one, and have spent a lot of time on doors, getting to talk to constituents. I look forward to the time when we can have a live and in-person forum again, but until then, I appreciate that you have provided an alternative here. I encourage all of you to get out and turn out that vote. Early voting starts on October 13th. Election day is just 29 days away. I hope that you will join me when you get to the ballot box and not stopping at the top, but voting all the way down the ballot. Voting for Congressman Roger Williams, Senator Don Buckingham, Representative Brad Buckley, and Representative-elect Shelby Slauson. I can tell you that there is no timidity in that ticket, and that we are an excellent team committed to serving you and to ensuring that the best days in Texas are yet to come, and that you will always remain the captains of your own ship on the shining sea of liberty. God bless you, God bless Texas, and God bless the United States.
Thank you, Shelby Slauson. Representing the Republican Party and running for Texas House District 59. Now we're going to switch over to our local city council. If I can have Mark Payne, Vanya Hart, Terry Deans, and Gary Kent. Please step forward. And Alicia is turning on y'all's mics. Okay. Okay, so we're going to start with Gary Kent. You have 2 minutes to introduce yourself.
Good evening. I would like to first thank the Copperas Cove Chamber and Visual Bureau for holding this forum. My name is Gary Kent, and I'm running for Copperas Cove, Place 6. And I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I was born in St. Louis, Missouri, a family of 16. I served 24 years in the military, where I served 3 combat tours. I'm a retired chief of police. I'm presently a senior pastor, and I work for the Bell County Sheriff Department. It has been so important to me to come out and to be a part of our community. My goal is to help Copperas Cove go from good to great. And some of the things that are really pressing is the issues that affects us all, and that's healthcare and jobs. One of the things that we see a lot of things leaving in our community, and that is jobs. One of my goals is to help bring in higher paying jobs. It's so important to have not just jobs, but higher paying jobs. But what's so unique about Copperas Cove area, we're right next to Fort Hood, as well as some of the local colleges, where we can help bring in those type of jobs. Something else, a little bit about myself. I'm married to the love of my life for some 37 years. We have 3 adult children. We have 3 grandchildren. I have 4 college degrees. I'm finishing up my 5th degree, and next year I plan on starting my doctorate. So I've been a busy person, and it's so important for me to serve our community. I have served 2 terms in the past on the city council in 2010 to 2015.
Thank you, Mr. Kent. Next, we'll have Terry Deans introduce herself.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you to the Chamber of Commerce for hosting this event tonight. My name is Terry Deans. My husband and I moved to Texas in 2003. I was working for the Army Corps of Engineers in a little town called Duck, North Carolina. And yes, it's a big quack quack, believe me. I worked in a research facility on a 1/4 mile long steel and concrete pier in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. I was offered the job at Fort Hood, and my husband and I had to take a long and serious look about where we were and where we wanted to be, especially in regard to our 2 children. One daughter was in high school, one had not yet started middle school. But living in a resort area had tremendous challenges for parents trying to raise teenage girls. It also had limited potential for myself as a career woman. My husband had served his country faithfully for 20 years in the military, and I had followed him up and down the East Coast and halfway across the world. When he retired, he said, "You followed me and you put up with all this mess, now it's my turn to follow you. What do you want to do?" When Fort Hood gave me the opportunity to move to Texas, we took it, we ran, and we did not look back. People have asked me, "Are you crazy? How could you live up giving on the beach for this?" I said, "How could you not?" Because this, Copperas Cove, we fell in love the minute we got here. We have not changed our feelings about it. If anything, it's even grown even better for us. We love our city. We're proud to be here. We finished raising our daughters here and our grandchildren here. There's nothing in the world I like more to do than talk about this city, Copperas Cove. I call it the little city with the big heart, because by golly, we do have a big heart. We support each other. We support our military. It really doesn't get any better than that. The only thing we need to do is start working together more cohesively and stop with some of the backstabbing and the taffy pulling. We all need to work together. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Deans.
Thank you.
Next, we'll have Vanya Hart.
Good evening. Thank you, Chamber, for holding this evening, and also to CCISD for giving us a space to speak tonight. I moved here along with my family in 1998 with a brief move over at Fort Belvoir, Virginia on a military assignment, returning home to Cove in 2004. I raised 3 children here in Cove. 2 of them graduated from the high school, one this past May. Also, I have one that's still in the district. In 2014, I lost my husband, retired Sergeant First Class James Hart, to cardiovascular disease. He served over 20 years in the military. It was the community that came together to support me. It was the people at the school districts that were able to let me laugh. It was my neighbors who helped me be able to drop off my kids at school. So when this opportunity came, I just felt it was right for me to go ahead and to be able to try to find a way so I can just pay it forward. I have my master's degree in counseling and my bachelor's in psychology, and I currently work as a military family life counselor, helping students and their families. I'm very honored to be here this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hart. Next, we have Mark Payne.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and Chamber, thank you for inviting us here tonight to meet each other and talk to the public. My wife and I first got here in May of 1976, and we were only going to be here 2.5 years because I was headed to Germany after that. But I didn't want to pay rent, so I started buying houses. And after my 3 years was up, I decided that I wasn't going to go to Germany. I was going to stay here because I had too much invested in the city to leave. And so later I opened a cabinet shop, and I had 24 employees. We worked 6 days a week, 24 hours a day. I've had several businesses over the last 40 years. I got involved in working with the city, started on little committees, sidewalk committees, fix the street committees, and then I got appointed by the mayor on the Downtown Association committee. I worked for the EDC as the president of the EDC. I've been on the Board of Adjustments as the chairman. I've been on the city managers advisory committee. And so I finally decided to run for council 4 years ago. Lost my first bid miserably. The second time I ran 3 years ago, I won rather handily. The MDD was part of the deal at that time. Since I've been on council, I realize how much it is that we cannot get accomplished sometimes because of the rules and constraints that are set upon us. But I would like to continue a lot of the programs that we've started. 3 years ago, the city was at odds with each other. The school board, the chamber, the council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Payne. Now we'll set a series of questions. I will start with Mr. Payne and work down, and then we'll go to the next and work down, so on and so forth. So the first question, Mr. Payne, is, do you think our Main Street downtown is welcoming and successful? If not, what would you do to change that?
If we're talking about the actual Main Street in downtown, no. It was designed 150 years ago for commerce, and we don't do commerce the same way. And the streets aren't, the streets and the buildings definitely aren't designed correctly for modern commerce. They're all one-story buildings. There's one two-story building downtown. Many of them were built from 1906 to 1915, and the city has been working on ways to get funding or grants. In the past, it's had enough business in it that we didn't qualify for any grants. And so now that we've suffered this pandemic and that a lot of our businesses have closed, we're getting to a point that we can qualify for grants. And we would need to bring the citizens together and the council.
Thank you. Ms. Hart, do you think our Main Street downtown is welcoming and successful? If not, what would you do to change it?
Okay. Actually, it was about a couple of weeks ago, I went to McDonald's so I can be able to go get a cafe mocha. And when I was doing so, I actually stopped downtown. I parked right in front of that, right in front of the theater, the old theater there, and I basically just took a walk around, just sipping on my mocha. And unfortunately, I was sad. I was just looking at just the buildings and how it looked like. It felt abandoned, and it just made me really sad. I could see the improvements that they're trying to do. I see the gardens, I see the sidewalks. That's another story with the sidewalks. I have concerns with that, with the one lane, 2 lanes. We have 2 lanes, and that's a very hard curve. But I do believe that there are plans and there are developments that are happening right now to make it more attractive. I do believe that they are bringing some things in, just like the farmer's market that is downtown. That thank you so much for bringing that downtown. And thank you.
Mr. Kent, do you think our main streets downtown are welcoming and successful? And if not, what would you do to change that?
Well, I think that, yes, it's welcoming, but it can be better. One of the things that I've always been in to push toward is going from good to great. There have been a lot of good things that have been done on Main Street. When I was on the city council, we got a lot of good things done. And a lot of people worked together to pull together to make our city look good. But that was okay then. We need to look forward now of helping bring in more businesses in. We need to look at some of the things that will help Copperas Cove stand by itself alone. We're small, but yet and still, we are a great city. We're a city that sit upon a hill as a light beacon, shining so that everyone around in our great area, in the Central Texas area, will be able.
Thank you. Ms. Deans, do you think our main street downtown is welcoming and successful? If not, what would you do to change it?
I do not feel our downtown is welcoming or successful. While it has come a long way in 17 years, progress has been extremely slow. Downtown is not some place I would say on a Sunday morning, hey, let's go take a stroll through downtown and see what's going on. Let's stop and have a cup of coffee. Let's go window shopping. I definitely would not do that. Our downtown is not traffic friendly and it is not pedestrian friendly. And those are the two main issues that need to be worked on. We can either have it as a traffic go through or we can have it as a pedestrian walk through. What do we want to see for our city and how do we want to get there? And more importantly, can we get the city to buy into it with us? That's a big question. What do we really want? How do we want to get there? I would say don't be the person who sits there and cries and moans and groans and says, oh, how come, how come? Be the change you want to see. Let's find out what everybody wants and see if we can work together to make it happen.
Thank you. Next question, we're going to start with Ms. Hart. How do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making process in Copperas Cove?
Thank you. I think it's just very important for to be able to speak with residents in regards to the processes in regards to the city council meetings, involving them in regards to the planning and development. And you can do that in a lot of ways. You can be able to reach them just by remaining visible, staying visible, attending some of the community events. I've been able to do so with 2 of the events that have been held here in Cove, trying to meet as many community residents as I can. And just by having those opportunities, I was able to speak with some of the entities of Copperas Cove, some of the people that were volunteering in Cove. These are wonderful ways in order to stay involved with the communities and listen to their concerns, and also being able to let them know about the city page for them to be able to follow, to be able to giving the community some clarification on some of the issues that they may have. Thank you.
Mr. Kent, how do you plan to involve the residents in the decision-making process in Copperas Cove?
Well, one of the big things is I believe that, first of all, the time that the city council hold their meeting need to be very conducive to most citizens when they get off of work. A lot of times you have events or meetings where a lot of the people are still at work. It's important to hold our city council meeting at a time that is conducive for all. And how we do that, we do it by putting it at either 7 o'clock or something of that nature. Well, that's how you get the citizens involved. By not doing it, you get a lot of things that are going on now that it's not that it's terrible, but it could be better. Going from good to great is obtainable in our great city. And getting citizens involved, a lot of citizens want to be involved, but can't be involved because of the time. And my job would be to help talk with the city council. And
thank you, Mr. Kent. Ms. Deans? How do you plan to involve residents in the decision-making process in Copperas Cove?
To be the voice for those who cannot speak, to be the ears for those who cannot hear, and to be the courage for those who are afraid to stand up. If you don't stand up for something, you'll fall for anything. There's a lot of people out here who cannot speak, cannot hear, and have no courage. They want to be heard, they don't know how. I want to be their voice, their ears, and their courage. If they will come to me, I will listen. I don't have all the answers, I don't pretend to have all the answers, but I know how to surround myself with people who do. If people will just stand up, take a deep breath, it takes ordinary people with extraordinary vision can redeem the soul of America. John Lewis stated that in an essay right before he passed away. And we can all be a part of that if we all participate and respect the democratic movement as it is intended for us to get out, vote, and respect each other's rights. So I would say, please, let's all work together and be the voice, be the ears, and be the courage for the people.
Mr. Payne, how do you plan to involve the residents in the decision-making process in Copperas Cove?
Yes, I am always available on my phone at any time. I keep it on all the time, keep it right by me. I've helped a number of people over the last 3 years. All you have to do is dial the number. We have town halls that have been very effective, but you have to attend the town halls to be able to ask questions and get your voice heard. The other is we've had an awful time with the sound system and the telephone since COVID at the council meetings. And so tomorrow night, we're going to be voting on a new system to be put into the IT building so that citizens can reach us easier during the council meetings. And hopefully you will take advantage of that when we get it in. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll start with Mr. Kent on the next question. As an elected official, how will you assist the Copperas Cove small businesses and community organizations with their recovery from the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic?
Well, one of the things I've learned from past time on the council was getting with the EDC and finding out how businesses actually look at communities to come into. You need to make sure that you have a work base. You need to make sure that you have schooling. We have a lot of things, and not only that, you need to make sure you have the roadways in order for them to come. It is very important that we work closely with our businesses. So many businesses have fallen by the wayside. You drive down 190 and you can count the numerous businesses that are closed, gone, for whatever reason. And it's just mind-boggling. It would be my goal to get out there and talk with these businesses, work with EDC, work with the Chamber of Commerce to help bring this group together, how we can make Copperas Cove great. Copperas Cove.
Thank you. Ms. Deans, as elected official, how would you assist the Copperas Cove small businesses and community organizations with their recovery from the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic?
I have always felt, I preach it and I teach it, that a prepared community is a resilient community. And part of that preparation comes with know who you're doing business with, know how your rent is paid, and know how to bring your customers in. I've seen one small business after the other fold and go away, and it kills me to have to give my hard-earned money to Colleen and Harker Heights because I can't find and can't get what I want right here with our small mom and pop businesses. I would ask the realtors that own these businesses to please take a good look at the money coming in, take a good look at your own hearts and your conscience. Are you raising the rent on your tenants so high that they feel like they can't make their business profitable and that they have to leave? What can you do to help them stay? Work with them because the money they bring in will help you eventually and will bring in much revenue for Copperas Cove. It's time to stop giving our money away. It's time to keep it right here at home where it belongs.
Thank you. Mr. Payne?
Yes, the EDC is a valuable source for helping startup businesses. We have part of our problem is the demographics. The medium-sized businesses that we would desire to come in to Cove are looking for more money per capita and more people in the city. Which is the reason that we need to grow up to 50,000 people. The lower mom and pop businesses that we've always had that's made this country great have suffered because of the internet business that competes with them and the large box stores. It makes it very difficult to operate a brick and mortar business when you can be outsold by a business that carries everything that every business carries, or that it can be delivered to your front door for a fraction of the cost that it takes to maintain those businesses. I've helped many businesses over the years get started, small businesses. Lots of them have gone on to.
Thank you. Ms. Hart, would you like me to repeat the question? Okay. As an elected official, how would you assist the Copperas Cove small businesses and community organizations with their recovery from the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic?
Thank you. First, we're at 75%. We're getting there. I think for right now, we need to locate those small businesses right now to see the ones that were greatly affected and basically target in on them and see what their needs are, and just bringing the community together and getting the other businesses, getting all those involved in our community. We have a wonderful love for this community. We have aches and pains as well, but I think the love for the city of Cove does bring us together and brings community cohesiveness. So I would say just pretty much all of us working together, and the businesses that have been pulling through with this and the ones that are maybe struggling, let's just all work that together. I also have a Facebook page where I've been highlighting small businesses too on the national days. I think that's actually a pretty cool way of recognizing those small businesses here in Cove. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll start with Ms. Deans on the next question. What is the most important issue you, as a candidate, would like to address? And how will you try and change it?
One of my biggest concerns for Copperas Cove is the lack of industry and the lack of jobs that are paying better than service wages of minimum wage. We cannot possibly expect positive growth in our city if the only thing we have to offer is another house, another subdivision, and more property being given away almost literally because of these subdivisions. We can't expect to grow if we don't have something for the people to come here for. Nobody wants to come to Copperas Cove and look at buying a $200,000 house in a brand new subdivision to not have the amenities and the services in the industry that they need to take care of their families. I think it's time to stop building houses and start building some industry. If we have a problem drawing industry in, we've got to figure out what's the problem and how do we fix it. Everything can be fixed if people work together and stop pulling apart and stop looking at the bottom line of the dollar sign. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Payne?
I have a question.
Yes, sir. What is the most important issue you, as a candidate, would like to address? And how will you try and change it?
The most important thing to me, and has been for the last 3 years, is our fiscal responsibility. Trying to make sure that we don't overspend, but we still cover all of our costs. That we don't borrow so much money that we just pass it on down to the next generation of Covites. We have a really good handle on what our expenses are now. And I would like to continue to work on that and keep it in check. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Payne. Ms. Hart, would you like me to repeat the question? As an elected official, what is the most important issue you, as a candidate, would like to address? And how will you try to change it?
Communication, and again, communication. I would love to be able to be part of those conversations that build bridges between the entities of Cove, the citizens, and also the council. I believe that it is very important to have healthy conversations. ones that are going to promote and empower, not to hinder. I think we just need to be able to pull it in together and be able to have those conversations. I believe I can be able to accomplish this with a lot of my skills that I've acquired as a licensed professional counselor. It's part of what I do of having people have healthier lifestyles, so I would definitely bring that in part of this process for having those healthy conversations. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kent, would you like me to repeat the question? Okay. What is the most important issue you, as a candidate, would like to address? How will you try and change it?
It's easy to say jobs, but jobs are a main thing. Not only jobs, it goes right along with our infrastructure. One of the things that I did after coming off the city council after 2 terms was I dedicated myself to listening to what the ordinary people of Copperas Cove were saying, listening to their concerns about education, listening to their fears about health care, listening to their the lack of what people on the council might not been going in the right direction. The citizens of Copperas Cove want a better place to live in and a better place for these jobs. We have a beautiful community. We need more grocery stores on the other end of town. There are things. Talking is over. It is time to get to work. Feeling good stuff is enough.
Thank you. This will be the last question. We'll start with Mr. Payne. What is your position regarding the various utility administration changes?
Well, we got handed a pretty tough deal when we switched over to the meters, because the company was not really set up to handle the size of city that we were. We found out that most of their cities were much smaller. Second, when they handed it back to us, it was a really quick decision. I think the city has done real well in trying to make it work with the existing offices in the city hall, and we are well underway in remodeling the old water department to where it will be new. It'll have more attendants inside, and the parking will be set up much better. It'll be more of a circular path. The parking will be on an angle. The bathrooms will be nice and new in there, and we will eventually get all the billing straight, and it will work very well. And just bear with us.
Thank you. Ms. Hart, what is your position regarding the various utility administrative changes?
If we're talking just recent of this year, I know that there has been some changes that have been going on, and I know that we have been hurt, very, very hurt from some of the changes of our past, but I believe that we are a very resilient community. I talked with the people over at utilities. I've talked to the city manager, and it does look like there are things that are clearing up, but there's also, it's time. It's just time, and of course we need to build more the trusting relationship again back into the city and with the community. And I just really empower all citizens just to go to the city page and reach out to those entities out there to get clarification. If you need to come in for an office visit, for over the phone, just pretty much just come in and be able to speak with those people so you can get clarification of what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kent?
I think that the present governing body is doing a pretty good job. I think it's important that the citizens become a more vital part of the process, because as Mark said, that they're going in the right direction, but sometimes we need to get behind our governing body and encourage them to do great and wonderful things for our city, because a lot of times complaining does nothing. But if we get behind them on some of these things, you'll see that our city will be able to move forward. Funding, like I said, they were dealing with a hand that they, quite frankly, wasn't dealt it. So those are some of the things for the utilities. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Deans?
Our city was dealt a terrible blow when the city council years ago voted to have Fathom come in to take over our water billing system. It was a company, in my opinion, that had not been thoroughly researched. All the facts were not there. And for the life of me, I can't figure out why we would have voted for a system that failed in so many other cities and states. Well, fast forward and say it was a mixed bag of blessings when Fathom filed for bankruptcy because we got our billing system back. The downside to that is it happened so quickly that instead of taking the time and working through a system, we had to react. Much like the pandemic, we had to react and put something in place right away. Initially, it didn't look so well for us, but they're starting to get better. Now is the time for them to say, look, we've had enough. Let's get this right once and for all. The people are tired, and they're tired of the problems they're having with their billing. But they need to do so in a more constructive way than just getting out on social media and blasting everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll start closing statements, and we'll start with Mark Payne.
Again, I'd like to thank the the chamber for inviting us here tonight. And I would like to say that we have such a nice array of competitors here tonight to choose from. When I got on the council, we had all men, and it concerned me. And we're moving in the right direction, I think. And I would encourage everyone to get out and vote and make your voice heard, and try to take advantage of the new system we get at the council to voice your opinions and let us know what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Vanya Hart?
At a very early age, I was very fascinated by human behavior and why people do what they do, and it led me into the field of counseling and to be able to work with people, trying to find them ways of how to effectively communicate with each other, and it still fascinates me. I still do that to this day. I decided to run for Cove because I wanted just to complement the council, just for the things that I truly believe in. I love people. I love trying to figure out ways for decision making and wanted to be a part of that process. I have 15 years experience in planning and development, also with working with families, working with people, community relations, past affiliations. I was on the board of Copperas Cove Education Foundation and also the Boys and Girls Club of Copperas Cove. I am just very honored to be here this evening, and thank you for the Chamber and to CCISD for having this opportunity this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Kent?
Yes, I'd like to start off by saying first something that I heard one said, and that's get ready, get ready, get ready, get ready, because change is coming. I'm here to tell you that the citizens of our great city want change. And when do they want it? They want it now. I'll tell you that I am a person that have been in leadership position and able to accomplish the goal. I know the importance of working together. No one person on the council can do it by themselves. It takes a team, and teamwork makes the dream work. And I'm that person that throughout my history here at Copperas Cove, I had the opportunity as the past senior vice commander of the VFW, part of the Central Texas Chief of Police Association, the VFW Post 8577, safety officer, 2 terms as a city councilman, former member of the Copperas Cove Lion Club, a former member of the Exchange Club. As a first sergeant, I had a 150 soldier unit, had over 21 years service. Before I retired as a chief of police, So I'm used to serving, and as a senior pastor, compassion. I have compassion for people. I want to let the people know that there's someone who listens to what they're saying. So often politicians want to just make decisions without thinking about the people. But I'm that one that will listen to the people and vote as I see that the people in the direction that they're going. So my thing is, come November 3rd, vote for Gary Kent for City Council, place 6. And most of all, I support this.
Thank you. Ms. Terry Deans.
Thank you. I'd like to first of all thank the Copperas Cove Independent School District. When this pandemic first hit, if you remember, all of our kids were on spring break. And we were told, well, 2-week spring break will be 2 more weeks while we get this thing under control. Nobody saw what was going to happen. Nobody. We don't have crystal balls. But being as unprepared as the entire nation was, Copperas Cove Independent School System really stepped up to keep our children educated at a time of uncertainty. And I applaud every single person who worked so hard to keep our kids on track. It wasn't easy then, it's not easy now, but we're headed in the right direction. I really feel that if people will just stop looking at the bottom line of money and start looking at the issues that really affect each and every one of us, work together instead of stabbing each other in the back, and figure out the best way to make the change for our city without hurting our city is a direction that we need to go in. We have a lot to offer, we just need to get ourselves there, and the time to do it is right now. Strike while the iron is hot, and let's do it. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Stay safe and be blessed.
Thank you, Mark Payne, Vanya Hart, Terry Deans, and Gary Kent, running for Copperas Cove City Council, place number 6. Next, I'll have Alicia come up.
Okay, so in closing, on behalf of the Copperas Cove Chamber of Commerce and Visitor Bureau, our community leaders, and the citizens of Copperas Cove, we thank all the candidates for coming out this evening, taking their time to answer questions, deliver their platforms, and visit with all those who were viewing live tonight. Again, we would also like to wish them luck as they continue campaigning. And we would also like to thank Mayor Diaz for permitting us to host this event this evening, and to CCISD for the use of their boardroom. Thank you to all of you who are watching this evening and bearing with us. This was our first virtual political forum, and I know we had a few hiccups, but we thank you again for bearing with us. And your continued support is very much appreciated. I do want to remind everybody, early voting begins October 13th. For all location and times in Coryell, Lampasas, and Bell counties, be sure to visit our chamber website at copperscove.com. You'll find all the locations there, as well as additional election information. And for the candidates, we encourage you to utilize our office to continue your campaigning. We do have things coming up, so visit our website for those events and networking opportunities that you could have from now to November 3rd. So again, thank you all of you, and have a great evening.